And now we can take your questions. Let's
Uh,
repeat the question for our Google broadcast, so that'll be recorded. Do you want to do that, Rob?
yes, the reason we're doing the national organization and we're doing the broadcast is because there are Latter-day Saint Democrats nationwide, and this is about organizing them nationwide. There's a number of us, obviously in the Mountain West, but I'm in Florida. If you look at the number of Latter-day Saints by state in terms of absolute number, Florida is in the top 10. As we all know, Florida is very important politically. Uh, and the main thing is just that by providing a home for Latter-day Saint Democrats everywhere where there previously hadn't been one, we can get people involved and engaged in civic life and civic participation. There are approximately 400,000 of us nationwide, many outside of Utah. And we should get all of us involved and get all of us into this home for LDS Democrats.
And so the question that was from Lisa LaRoche at the Deseret News asking about the impact of LDS Democrats on a national level. Yes, so let me repeat your question first for the benefit of those queuing in on the Google Hangout. The question again from Lisa is obviously this may impact Utah the most. And what was the second part of your question? What that impact is? Yeah, absolutely. Since we founded LDS Dems in Utah a year ago, I'm sure as you're possibly all aware, we've grown to have 2,200 members. That makes us the largest caucus in the Utah Democratic Party. But not all of those 2,200 members live in Utah. And since the beginning that we've existed, people have been begging for a national organization. The time is ripe for it. The time is now. Being connected on a national level together will not only benefit us here in Utah as we organize for elections, but it'll benefit LDS Democrats everywhere. One of our biggest problems is the feeling of isolation that sometimes comes with being an LDS Democrat. And so it's really great to have the strength of such a large organization behind us. LDS Democrats may not be as large of numbers in some states, but they make differences in every election they're involved in. States like Idaho and Arizona, certainly this organization will make a big impact there. But even in states like Florida, as Rob mentioned, where states are the tiniest of margins, a small body of LDS Democrats reaching out to moderate and Republican LDS voters, that'll make a difference in those elections. So this will really have a national impact. We do want to get more involved in elections once we get our 527 going, and that's going to be very exciting. Yes, so the question from Sojourner Magazine is why are we more aligned under a party banner than just a broader progressive banner? Am I rephrasing you correctly? Rob, I'll let you answer that.
Something that we've found is that among many Latter-day Saints, a Democrat is a four-letter word, and that Republican is just the way things are. And so when people self-identify as Democrats, it can add to the feelings of isolation. By no means do we require everyone to be a registered Democrat, but there are many people who are attracted to the broad aims of the Democratic Party, and we feel that it's important to identify with that national party as a way of saying, you know, I see things a little bit differently than most of the people around me. I'm going to stand up for those things. I'm going to speak out for the values that I think are important in national political life and in local political life. And we're saying, you know, here's a home for you where you can do that. One of our goals is that no one will ever again at BYU say that they are the only Democrat at Brigham Young University. And so coming out and saying, you know, we're Latter-day Saints and we're Democrats shifts the conversation in a positive way.
And I would just like to add, Rob mentioned that the BYU Democrats, they're actually the largest organization of college Democrats in Utah. Their chapter is bigger than the chapter at the U, Westminster, SUU, and they are also bigger than the College Republicans organization at BYU. So this is an exciting time for us as LDS Democrats. Another kind of anecdote here in Utah is often candidates will campaign, they'll knock on a door, and the person answering the door will say, "Oh, you're so lucky you knocked on my door. I'm the only Democrat on this street." And then they go two houses down, knock on that door, and say, "Oh, you're in luck. I'm the only LDS Democrat in this whole neighborhood." And then one of our the Democratic candidate running for office will say, "Well, what do you know? I just knocked on this person two houses down." And so there definitely is many Latter-day Saint voters who maybe identify more strongly with values consistent with Democratic Party values. Again, we're a big tent, but often they are afraid to identify as Democrats. And so that's one of the important things we think with this organization. One of our important purposes is helping our members to feel more confident about identifying as Democrats, not just voting for Democrats. That's the BYU College Democrats, yes. I'm 90% sure that's true. They've been billing themselves as that for a while. They are definitely large and active. And they're not officially affiliated with LDS Dems. I do want to clarify that. They are their own student organization at BYU. Sure, the question from Lisa is about the PAC that we have in action. And Lisa at the Desert News, and Rob, you can take that.
So LDS scriptures state that we're supposed to seek out and support candidates for political office who are honest, wise, and good. And something we want to do with this PAC is to seek out people who we think would be good local candidates who would serve their communities well and are interested in running as Democrats, and to give them support for people who might be on the edge of deciding whether or not to run for office or have decided to run for office. And we're not going to get involved in intra-party nomination fights, but to support people who have the Democratic nomination, where we think we can make a difference and we think that they'll serve their communities well, whether or not the candidate in question is a Latter-day Saint.
And just to add, we have the C4 end of it. It's typical process to set up the C4 first and then the 527. And we will let you know as soon as the 527 exists. It'll be in the next few weeks.
Okay, the question from Ashton at Fox 13 in Salt Lake is how this ties in with the whole progressive movement in the church. Specifically in the questions about rights for women and feminism in the church. So the main difference is that this isn't focused on the Latter-day Saint community internally. This is focused on taking action externally and taking our Latter-day Saint values out into the community.
And it's certainly an exciting time. I mean, the First Woman is praying this weekend at General Conference, and there's lots of exciting things in the news in terms of progressive ideas and Latter-day Saints, and so we're all probably part of a similar zeitgeist that's out there. Rob? So
the question is just a summation of what our goal is today. Our goal today is to announce that we have a national organization and to alert other Latter-day Saint Democrats that we're here to be a home for them and to provide resources to them so we can all work together.
And we also have 10 chapters. If you go to our website, ldsdems.org, click on leadership, they're all listed there. We have states as diverse as Hawaii, Wyoming, Arizona, Idaho, Washington, D.C., Texas, Arizona, I think I said that already, Ohio, Florida, and there's a couple more. Yes, I can answer that. The recent surveying that we have done here in Utah, last year there was a Pew study that said that nationally 17% of LDS voters identify as Democrats, where in Utah that number is only 7%. Within a year that's become 8%, and we have great goals of getting to that national level of 17% in the very near future. And so LDS Democrats has been in existence in Utah for a year. Now we're starting the national organization. We're going to see that increase nationally as well, from going even higher than 17%. 1%. So it's definitely already creating change. It's definitely already a home for people who have felt a little homeless, perhaps. And it gives them a little bit more strength to identify as LDS Democrats.
And when you look at the presidential elections of the last 12, 16 years, you see that also it's an accelerating change within the Latter-day Saint community, where in 1996, 2000 elections, 88% of Latter-day Saints voted for the Republican candidate, for Senator Bob Dole or for Governor George W. Bush in 2000. Whereas we see in the most recent election that President Obama got about 20 or 21% of the Latter-day Saint vote nationwide. So there are more and more Latter-day Saints identifying as Democrats or supporting Democratic candidates, and we're here to help accelerate that.
Yes, and Mormons got a little bit excited online when the news came out that more Mormons voted for President Obama, even against a Mormon nominee, than voted for John Kerry. So that was kind of exciting, exciting news for us in the last election cycle.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is Whitney. So I was just curious, are you finding or are you seeing any big differences between the politics of LDS Dems in Utah and LDS Dems nationally?
The question for those on the conference call, in case you could hear it, is if we find a difference between the politics of among LDS Dems in Utah and LDS versus LDS Dems nationally. What I found is that there's a big spread everywhere we go. That there are conservative, moderate, and progressive Latter-day Saints in Utah. There are conservative, moderate, and progressive Latter-day Saints who identify as Democrats outside of Utah. In my home ward here in Florida, I could rattle off the names of progressive Democrats, moderate Democrats, and conservative Democrats just in my small ward of 180 people. So in terms of the spread and diversity of opinion, there's not really much difference there.
I would absolutely agree with that. It's a diversity of Democratness in Utah and nationally, and there really isn't kind of any unity between our LDS Democrats outside of Utah, more or less progressive. It's really the same spectrum, but we are quite united in growing our numbers. And that's why it's so important that LDS Democrats of America and the Utah Caucus and all of our chapters, why we are so dedicated to representing that big tent of opinion.
I encourage you all to check us out at ldsdems.org, to contact us at hello@ldsdems.org, and for those who are interested, to sign up, to donate, to get involved. And there will be state chapters everywhere in the coming weeks and months.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. For those listening to our broadcast live or checking us out on YouTube post facto, please get involved with the national organization. Please get involved with the chapter in your state. You can contact us at hello@ldsdems.org and let us know how you'd like to help. Thank you so much.